Hello, this is Elena, and today I will be talking about site administration features for grades. We go to site administration and find grades and categories under it. So there are two categories that we can see. They are grades and report settings. Let's start from grades and let's look at the subcategories or subsections. So the first subcategory is general settings. Let's see what we can do here. Okay, here we can choose just graded roles. And we can see teacher and students that are marked. So this allows us to control who appears on the grade book. And according to the requirements, users need to have at least one of these roles in course to be shown in the grade book for that course. Great. So user profile report is given by user report is given by default. So grade report used on user profile page. So aggregation position last by default. It determines whether the category and course total columns are displayed first or last in the gradebook report. So in our case, these are last. So also we include scales in aggregation. We enable publishing. By default, it is no. So grade publishing is a way of importing and exporting grades via URL without being logged into a Moodle. And if enabled, administrators and users with the permission to publish grades are provided with grade export publishing settings in each course gradebook. That's great. Okay, what else do we have here? Grade export decimal places. Here it's 2 by default. So okay, navigation method is tabs by default, but also it can be drop-down menu and both tabs and drop-down menu. Okay, so grade export custom profile fields are empty by default, so it includes the custom profile fields in the grade export separated by commas. Okay, what else can we see here? Primary grade export method. We can choose export formats of gradebook, which methods are primary for exporting grades. In our case, Excel spreadsheet is marked, but none by default. And it says that if you're not sure about which one to choose, leave everything unchecked. Okay, so unlimited grades no by default. Okay, they're limited by maximum and minimum values of the grade item. Show minimum grade, yes. So we should show minimum grade that is used in calculating grades and weights. If it is not shown, then minimum grade will default to 0 and cannot be edited. So grade point maximum, so we just decide, so this setting determines the maximum grade point value available for this or that activity. Okay, minimum and maximum grades used in calculation. So again, there are two options here. It's initial minimum and maximum grades, or minimum and maximum grades is specified in grade item settings. So it's up to you to decide which one you will choose for your gradebook. Okay, and external user menu grades link overview report is given by default, but also it can be external URL. Okay, and if it is external URL, so it should be specified if an external gradebook is used. So if you want to change, save any changes, just click on it and it is done. Let's return to grades and see what other categories, subcategories we can observe. Okay, so the next is grade category settings. Hide force settings is given by default, so we're not going to show force settings in grading UI. So then aggregation, grade aggregation. In our case, it's natural by default. So this aggregation determines how grades in a category are combined. And here you can see a lot of options. Mode of grades, highest grade, lowest grade, median, mean of grades with extra credits. So, and all the, almost all of these options are just described here. So, okay, in our case, natural is given by default. So you can exclude empty grades, yes or no. In our case, it is yes, and it is just marked as advanced. Okay, include outcomes in aggregation. In our case, it is no. Okay, keep the highest. Okay, if set, this option will only keep the highest grades, being the selected value for this option. Drop the lowest, none by default in our case, and allow category grades to be manually overridden. And in our case, it is yes by default. So the next subcategory is grade item settings. So the first is feature is grade display type. In our case, it is real by default, but we can see a letter, percentage, and as it says, the setting determines how grades are displayed in the grade and user reports. Yeah, it can be letter, it can be percentage, and it can be actual grades or scale value. So again, overall decimal places determines the number of decimal places to display for each grade. In our case, it's 2 by default. And advanced grade item options. Here we can select elements that should be displayed as advanced when editing grade items. So it can be ID number, it can be grade type, grade to pass, minimum, maximum grade, multiplicator, hidden, locked, parent category, and so forth. Okay, so the next subcategory that we are going to explore is scales. Let's click on it. So the teachers should be aware of what scales they are going to use. It's standard scale, custom scale, so, and it is given if it is used or it is not used, and it can be edited and even deleted, and you can add a new scale even. Okay, let's return to grades and see what subcategories we haven't explored. Yes, so the next is outcomes. Here we can just provide standard outcomes, so and we can add a new outcome, we can export all outcomes, so full name just is provided here, so for what courses it can be used, and also it can be edited if it is necessary. So let's return to grades and move on to the next subcategory, that is letters. Okay, here we can see the highest, the lowest result, and what letter it stands for. So the default grade letters are currently overridden. If it is necessary, we can edit grade letters. Okay, let us continue. And the next category here is report settings. Let's click on it and see what it includes. So it includes grader report, students per page, that determines the number of students displayed per page in the grader report. Show only active enrollments, it is yes by default in our case, and quick grading. So also quick feedback. Show calculations if it is necessary. Show or probably hide icons. when editing is turned on, just is shown for each grade for controlling its visibility to students. Okay, show columns average. Probably it's a good idea. Show grade analysis icon. Okay, it's a yes by default. Show user profile images. Next to the name in the grader report. Show activity icons if enabled, so they're shown next to activity names. And some other that are not just marked here. Grade history. So history entries per page. It determines the number of history entries displayed per page. Showing rank. The position of the student in relation to the rest of the class for each grade item is probably necessary. It can be just necessary. So it's for overview report. High totals if they contain hidden items. Okay, and the next subcategory under this very category is user report. So it shows percentage. In our case, it's marked yes by default. Show grades, feedback, ranges, ratings, and that's all. And show contribution to course total. Yes, that's very important to just probably indicate how much each grade item contributes to the user's course total percentage. Okay, if we introduce any changes, we can save them, and that is all about the exploration of this site administration features for grade. Thanks for watching. I hope it was useful.